Hey, what's up, everybody? GreaterSapien here. Take care of some of this glare again. Sorry about that, folks. Sunday morning live stream. Let's try this again. All right. A little bit of glare going on over here. Don't know if there's anything I can do about that. That's just the way my camera takes care of things. Let's see if change focal length. Sorry about the brightness. It's later in the day than I usually do these. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Let's see what we have going on here. Let me do a quick refresh. Go to my control room. All right. Let's see who's in the room. I see I got my moderators. Cool. They're doing what they do. We got a good bandwidth going on. Let's see me do a quick share of the screen. Inviting any crazies this time. Not no plan. If somebody special happens to pop up, who knows? Who knows what we'll do? But right now, that is not the plan. Where is my screen that I want to share with you guys? Something to say right off the bat. Let's do a quick boom, boom, boom. Get rid of that. Okay, so first off, just to say good morning and hello. Let me get rid of that. You'll probably notice that when you sign on to this live stream, that there's this notice saying that this creator has turned on super chat for good for the Oakland Youth Course, and this is cool. That I'm always grateful that you guys put forth some super chats and do some donations, and that's great of you. But the fact that they have this super chats for good and they have nonprofits that are connected to it is something that I think is a really cool thing. And now I happen to have looked and seen that the Oakland Youth Course is on that list. And I have a history with the Oakland Youth Course. My son is part of the Oakland Youth Course. Several of his friends in school are there. My wife is an alum with the Oakland Youth Course. I was their graphic designer for several years in the 90s. I actually designed their little logo that they maybe 20 something years ago that they still use today. They still put it up and make shirts out of it and things like that. So it is an organization that I and my family put a lot of time into, and they've been around for about 40 years now. And so anything that you donate will be appreciated, and it will go directly to the Oakland Youth Course, which I have a personal attachment to, and I like to see their continued success. So that's what that is there. So thank you very much, anyone who makes that a super chat donation, and I just wanted to put that up front so you knew why I was doing it. All right. So let's see who's in the room real quick. Who else is in the room? I have too many screens. I don't know about you, but I'm one of those people that have tons of screens. Here we go. Excellent. Let's see. Roberto Rodriguez, good morning. Peter Bernard, hey. IMB Wildered, hey. JP, over the line, hey, what's up? Darth Killer. Yes. Yeah, apologies. It looks like these super chats for good are only accessible for people in the United States. That's perfectly fine. You don't have to donate over there in the UK. If you any super chats right now are just going to go are from people available for people in the US and Canada, and so you guys across the way are you're off the hook. You're off the hook. There's you don't have to nothing's going to come out of your pocket today. I'm not going to do this for every one of them. I'm going to spread it out a little bit and see if there's any other nonprofits. The martial arts studio that I work for as one of my other jobs is also a nonprofit, but I'm not sure if it's on that list. And so I might even put them in there on some of Hey, what's up? Good evening, those in the UK. Francis uh, DeWald in South Africa. What's up? So yes, that's the case there. If you want to donate strictly to me, I do have a thing on my website, studiosapien.com/support, I think, or slash support. One of the moderators put it in there. I do have something called a digital thank you, which is just, something you can purchase. It's $5. It's just like digitally saying, hey, thank you. And actually, I'm going to read off some names of people who have sent those today. Let's see. For me, the March Shadow Child one, I practice a Indonesian kung fu called silat, and a mixture of other things because I believe to have more tools in my toolbox. And funny thing is, one reason I didn't, there's the whole globe denial convention going on. I think it was this weekend. I was considering going, but I had been doing too much travel lately, and the family would have been upset. But at the same time, there's also there's a series of seminars going on over at the studio of violence dynamics, and so I've been putting some time into that, and it's kind of more fun to work with other what we consider violence professionals, people who manipulate people for a living, and get together and just workshop things, see what works, and do some sparring and play out some scenarios. It's good stuff. So that's one of the things I'm doing. Let's see. Thanks, donate. You could donate to FE Core Legal Defense Fund. I wonder if do they have themselves down as a nonprofit? Hey, what's up, Mark in Belgium? Let's who else? These are going. Don't I have? Yeah, I do have slow mode on. Yeah, it was. Rodrigo said he loves a shirt. Hold on one second. Hey, Mal, are you in the other room? Can you shut this door? Thanks. All right. Hey, critical think. Cool. I'm going to hint at our conversation a little bit there, but I don't want to reveal stuff completely right on that. What the hell is going on? Oh, the Australia upside down. Nice. Mandelbrot set. You should have a wrench. You should maybe refresh, see what's going on there. I don't see a little spanner there for you. You should be good. I took care of you, both on Discord and here. Alessandro, hey. Oh, you got your shirt. So far, only one shirt has been returned. I need to, that some reason the address wasn't good. I sent out about, cool. Thank you, Caroline. That's for the super chat going to Oakland Youth Chorus. Any support you give me, even if you were given the donation directly to me, I put so much time and effort into the Oakland Youth Chorus. Whatever you donate to me goes kind of in a way goes to them. So it's kind of nice that we have the opportunity to send things straight to the Oakland Youth Chorus. Thanks for keeping up on that. And actually, let me do not top chat. I want to do all the chat. Boom. Okay, cool. Okay, Graham, take care of the kids. That's funny. Kids are killing each other. Fight the flat Earth. Quick question, in your opinion, is the flat Earth movement? I'm assuming is the flat Earth movement growing? Probably. I don't think it's growing as quickly as they like to think. Yeah, hold on real quick. 100% less crazy because there's not going to be any flat earthers on my live stream live today. That's why it's 100% less crazy. It's just people who I know are stable today. Let's see. So I think they are growing to a certain degree, mostly because but I think it because it's just the way young movements happen. They have a little surge, but I don't know if you've noticed the energy on the globe denier side is really kind of kind of petering out. They're finding less avenues of argument because at first, when they first start, especially when the global denier movement really first starts, they're throwing out arguments that people weren't necessarily ready for it because people are like, what are you even talking about? So they kind of have an edge in terms of just making stuff up. They can just throw things out there, and then that gets shot down. But they grab something else, and that gets shot down, and they grab something else. But they have less and less things to grab because the internet, the sensible people, the science, affirming people have caught on to their game, and we're able to preempt most of their arguments because we can see how they think. So now they have less and less avenues to go. I think that's one reason why some of them are, they're going back to NASA being fake, and the moon landing and stuff, because that hasn't been much on that front in a while. So they think they can go back to that. They haven't, yeah, funny flat earth puns, but kind of see them coming now. It's like a really good box, so science and science-minded people are like really good boxers. Like you take like a Pernell Whitaker, a Manny Pacquiao, a Floyd Mayweather, Sugar Ray Leonard. Somebody new comes in that they haven't ever really gone up against. I know I pulled out Pernell Whitaker, I don't know, but somebody new that comes up who's they've never come up against. They're young up and coming. They're energetic. They're strong. And so the first couple rounds, you can see there's a feeling out process, and it seems like the new person has a little bit of edge. But then third round in, there was always a time when you saw, oh, Pacquiao has figured him out, or Mayweather has figured him out. And then it's just a matter of time of just cutting off all their avenues of offense, and then it's just a done deal. After that, it's just like, oh, he's just playing with him now. The fight should just stop. There's no place for him to go. And that's pretty much what's happened with the flat earth, the globe denial movement and the science affirming people. At first it was like, what are you talking about? You're coming at me with from these weird angles. And, it's like, I don't even know how to approach you as a person because I don't know how you think. But after a little bit, it's like, oh yeah, I figured you out. So now I can see your things coming. You move down a line of offense, and I can see it coming, and I can deflect your attack and counter and preempt your attack, and that's pretty much what's happened. So they're having a harder time. So that's my assessment of how that works. So right now, I think they are growing a little bit, but the energy level is going down. Yes, we see through the lies. We see through their tactics. Not only do we see through their lies, Miles, we see through their tactics. There's certain things that they do, and you can see when they start to ask you a question, you're like, oh, I know where you're going with this. And so I'm not even going to let you go down that avenue anymore. I'm just going to cut you off and get right to the point. Make your argument for you and show you how you're wrong before you get there. And all of a sudden you see them going off on another tangent. So, let me check my Discord, see if anybody is separating things out here. Cool. So if you have any specific questions, you can direct them to moderators. We have Mandelbrot. We have, I don't know if Young Blue is here. We have Anon. And just in case I don't see it, they'll take things that are like obviously direct questions as opposed to just chat conversations. They'll channel it to me so I can give it the appropriate attention just in case I don't see it. I do have some specific things I want to talk about today, but I do want to, I don't want to ignore folks as we go through this. And let's see. Let me go back on that there. No, it's not the best analogy. It is not the best analogy, the fighting analogy. I'm just talking about in terms of strategy. Yes, they are coming full circle in their claims. It is hilarious. You're like, what? Didn't we deal with this already? But there's new people coming in, and so they think they're coming up with new arguments. But it's long since shot down. Hey, what's up, Arthur and Holland? I believe the Earth to be a pixelated sphere. It's made of boxes with flat sides. Hey, it is a multi-sided polygon. It is not a perfect sphere. Let's see what else I got going on here. So I'm going to give a positive shout to a commenter, and I want you to let me go through the whole thing before you, because you'll see the comment and you'll probably judge really quickly, and I don't want you to, because there's a follow-up to it. So I'm going to quickly share my screen. So I want to give a positive shout to Noob Club, because a Noob Club earlier on in this week came at me with this odd thing here, which is of me believing that South is in and North is out. And I think this came from this whole conversation I had about how people look at a map and they think of North as being up and South being down. But so then when they look at a globe, they think of North being up, up being North and down being South. And so I asked this person repeatedly, what are you talking about? Where have I said anything like this? And there was a back and forth that was kind of like, you said it, now you deleted it kind of thing. And so then I finally got this person to go back and look at the original video. And then they followed up, And so I have to give respect to someone who went back to look at the video, noticed the context of what was said, and was willing to back down from their wrong position. So we may not agree on a lot of things, Noob Club, but I respect your ability to notice that you had made a mistake and step back from it. So good on you there. Just wanted to say that to Noob Club there. Cool. Thank you very much for that there. Anyone watch a so-called board direct on FE? I do not watch any FE core stuff. I don't know if anyone else is watching their things. Check my okay, so we got a question from over the line. What were the technologies that Don Pettit was talking about as destroyed that are painful to build back? Well, I can't speak to exactly what what other people are thinking, because I'm not a mind reader. But when I heard that, one thing I thought of right off the bat was a lot of the technology that we used for going to the moon and just in space in general up until recently were kind of one-use things. You build the rockets, you get everything, and you use that to get yourself up in space, and then that is done. That piece, those rockets, those boosters are done. They fall into the ocean. Maybe we may recover them, but they're useless. They're just destroyed. They're just shells of things. So we literally, the act of using these things destroys them. And so we don't have like a pack of those things stacked up. And this is, like I said, this is my interpretation of what I heard. Not that they said, that's technology that will get us to the moon. Hey, let's make sure we destroy that actively. But the act of using it destroys these things. But also the act of not using things destroys them. When missions get canceled and funding goes away, you can keep things in storage and things like that. But unless you have an active mission to preserve something, or they're going to be made use of, they don't have shelf lives. You don't just leave these things sitting and that they're perfectly functional. They become useless. They become outdated. And so then some of them, you say, we don't have this program anymore, where if we do something like this again, all the technology is better, would be better. We'd have to make new stuff. So let's just, scrap those things. Not like, let's destroy old moon technology, but it's like that's old storage that's going out of function. It's not worth the upkeep because it's not any, not up to standard anymore. So let's just let them go to the wayside, put them in museums, do whatever, but that effectively just destroys them. So that's the hard technology. And so saying it's painful to build back, I think that's I don't know why you use the word painful. It's more like it's a lot of damn work. It's a lot of work to build those things back. It's not like, oh, here's a blueprint. Just throw another one of these boosters together. It's like, no, it's a bunch of research and development. It's like, yeah, we want to do this. Okay, we have to put a 7-year plan together. We have to put a 10-year plan together. We don't just pull things off the shelves and go back to it. So painful, I thought was a weird word to use, but it is a lot of work. So Towardy today asked GS if he plans to debate like Rhetoric and Crew does, or he's sticking to it. Generally, I'm going to be sticking to this kind of format because I don't generally like the people who would want to debate with me. One, debating with globe deniers, science deniers, people who are just contrarian is pretty much useless. And I mean, it has value in showing people that these guys have nothing going on, but when a person can just make something up and then you're expected to counter it when uh there, it's frustrating, and of very little value. I'm getting away from this mic. Let me move this mic a little bit over this way. So yeah, that's one reason why I don't debate. I mean, I'm perfectly fine having conversations with people, but this whole elevating these folks to debate level is giving them a little too much credit. They're not worthy of debate. But I like talking to people and just to finding out why they think the way they do, where they come up with the ideas, what motivates them, that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm not particularly interested in debating people who aren't worthy of debate on subjects that with positions that aren't up to even scientific standards. Let me see. Oh, so people were asking about the status of what happened with the whole, over the poles flight thing. And so it's pretty much, where we, where I nothing's changed since the last time I've updated. I made a full, had a full discussion with the FBI. I went through several different steps of reporting with both international internet fraud, with wire fraud people, with the FBI, and they have different sections for different types of fraud that happen. And then I did a lot of forms, and then I actually finally got on the phone with the local FBI branch. We have one in Oakland. So I got a phone with someone and actually had a conversation because that was the important thing. I actually wanted to talk to somebody. So I walked through all the steps, everything that went on, all the steps I went through to find out if there was anything else that I could do to try to to move this forward in terms of prosecution and things like that. And he said that no, you've pretty much done everything a person can do other than try to get in a car or on a plane and start doing a manhunt to try to find a person at old addresses and things like that. So yeah, he said he's pretty much I've done everything that can be done, and it's now in their hands. And if anything comes of it, they'll let me know. And then if I get information from them, then you can move forward with civil suits and things like that. But so everything's in their hands when it comes to law enforcement. In terms of my own personal projects, I have some irons in the fire to continue. This is the whole thing. The whole idea was that I would get this project together, and then I would video it and kind of make a small documentary about the entire process. Well, I don't consider myself a documentarian at all. But one thing I have heard from people who do make these things is one thing you have to do is, or one thing you have to not do is decide what the story of the documentary is. And which is, what you have to do is you decide what you're going to do, and then you have to let the reality, if it's a true documentary, you have to let the reality guide where it goes. And so I'm still going to end up producing something, but it's going to be about this entire thing and how I've had to react to it and how I've had to change my goals because of it. And then what the end result of all this will be. So there'll still be an end product, but it just won't be the product that I thought it was going to be. But we will still, I'm still going to be taking some actions to generate information, to generate data that will give people weapons against the science denial that goes on out there. It just won't be uh, what I originally thought it would be. I don't want to make any specific announcements about anything yet because I'm just like before, there's always a chance of something going wrong. So until it's settled and things are actually moving, uh, yeah, I'm not revealing some of our plans. And I say our because I am working with other people. But when the time comes, I'll let you know, and it will be a definite when the announcement is made. So that's where we're going on that. Let's see. Over the line, what are you saying here? You're saying I'm monetizing fraud by making a documentary about it. So if someone makes a documentary about the assassination of a president, they're just monetizing assassination? Is that what your accusation is? Or am I trying my best to fulfill the contract, the promise that I made with people with what I'm trying to do? What's it, it's do you see the difference? So I think what you're doing is this is over the line. Is that is that you've decided that that you don't like me, which is fine, and you're deciding to paint me as a fraud in any way you can. So it's going to be either a fraud because you think I was part of it, a fraud because I am now, um, doing something with it. And by the way, you're saying I'm monetizing it. I am not going to be selling this thing. I'm going to be putting it out. That's the way it goes. Anyway, steer register time warner. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, let's move on. Like I said, direct things to my moderators. I have a couple other points I want to speak to. This one, I think, let's see. In terms of, let's go to the hater department real quick, just briefly. Let's go to the hater department. Let's go to this quick screen share. Okay. Boom. Get that over there. Boom. All right. You know what? This one's not really this was a person who couldn't quite understand the whole orientation between physically up and physically, and down, and was thinking that if a plane, well, I have it in front of you now, you're seeing it, so I might as well explain it. Uh, the person's idea is you have a plane that's going around, say, a small globe, and when it goes around from the north side, it's one way, and then you go down the bottom side, isn't it physically upside down? And this is another thing of not understanding relative position. Down gravitationally, like what we sense as being down, what our bodies tell us is down, the way we're going to fall down is about the center of the earth. So when you have a plane so if you on a toy plane on a ball is up above a regular globe is different because it's still within our sense of, gravitational up and down. If you take yourself and you take yourself outside of your own, reality and into and you convert that globe, that toy globe into, a symbol of the actual earth where the gravitational down is in the center of that globe, then when the plane is toward the North Pole, then down is toward the center of that globe. When it comes down and around, comes around the side of the Earth to what to us as observers see as the underside, down to it is still toward the center. It is perfectly fine. Now, relative to its original position, if say there was a person still up at the top in the north and somehow magically look through the earth and see, they would have flipped. That's relative to where they were before. But gravitationally, what they sense as down is still toward the center of the earth. There's a difference between something we see in terms of our observation and what physics, impels in terms of its forces. It's a very different thing. So I think that was an issue with this person's understanding. Don't fault him for it. It's just the way it goes. I am going to talk about somebody briefly. Actually, let me see if I can find this. I don't know if you've seen this person here. This person is Daniel Pratt, and I don't have a problem with giving people a few more views here and there. There's not many there in the first place. Where is it at? Where's my chat? Over there. So this is this video right here. This is Mr. Pratt. Now I mentioned Daniel Pratt in my the video I did. In the video I did for Godless Engineer. It's for Godless Engineer because he put this idea in D. Marble's brain that the shot from the epic camera of the moon in front of the Earth was somehow an eclipse. And so D. Marble ran with it. He was wrong. I made a video for Godless Engineer to shoot that down. And I just happened to mention him in here. So apparently he's got a couple videos where he's mentioned several science proponents as being liars and frauds and things like that. And he calls me, the only reason I know it is because I think Sly Sparkane put out a video about it. I would have never seen it. One, because he refers to me as mediocre sapien, and that means nothing. That doesn't show up on searches, so it doesn't pop up. And in this one, he just calls me, I guess, mediocre instead of greater, because that's what he's trying to do. And again, it doesn't get associated with me, but apparently he was talking about me. And so in his video, he calls out globe people. I'm going to play it here. You won't hear it, which is fine. But let's see. I'm going to turn this down anyway. And I think I put his closed captioning on. Yeah. So in this video, he calls out people like me for being cowards. And he says something about 4 years later, we're being completely anonymous and not showing our name and face, which I think is amazing. He goes, whoops, go on here. My mouse is a little too sensitive. He goes on this wonderful little rant, like he's the Joker or something, of name calling, because apparently people like me don't put our name and our face on our videos, which is hilarious because he's just talking. He's just name dropping in order to talk smack. And you can see here, he's saying some pretty offensive things here, calling people like myself out for not showing our name and face. And apparently the reason we won't show our name and face is because we'll get sued for lying. Which is an amazing concept, that I guess he thinks you can be sued for just lying in general, that you can just be sued for putting out information that you think is true, that other people don't agree with you. And so he challenges us to bring our name and our face and our ID for some reason to a debate. I get to show our name, face, and ID on a video. Who in the heck is insane enough to show their ID on video? I mean, I could show my ID and cover up everything, but I'm not putting my ID up on camera for obviously deranged people like we have encountered recently, to make use of. And the whole idea is, if we don't do that, if we're not willing to do that, and if we think he's wrong, then we should sue him. We should sue him for lying. Um, Again, this idea that if we don't sue him for lying, then we must agree that he's telling the truth. This is just how a lot of globe deniers think. This kind of twisted way understanding of reality. And that's why I'm bringing it up, because one, he's making an observation that's just not true, saying people like me don't show their name and face. I show my name and face all the time. And he says we do it because we're afraid of getting sued. Well, apparently, I'm not afraid of being sued. I show my name and face all the time. And then the last one is that the fact that he's able to show his name and face is somehow not being sued somehow affirms what he's saying as being true. This is the type of lack of understanding of reality, like that people like him share. And it's an amazing thing. It's a amazing thing to encounter sometimes, that this is actually how people think. So in case he does come across this, Daniel, if that's your real name, let's get uh, back to here. As you can see, on almost all of my videos, I place my face because I do stand behind the things I say. I understand why some people, given, thank you, Andrew. Again, didn't you donate last time? Thank you very much, Andrew. Andrew, it's going to go to the Oakland Youth Course. Thank you very much. I can understand why some people don't show their name and face, because they can engender such aggression from people on your side that that they want to stay safe. I understand that. I chose early on to give my name. It's not my username, but I'm Jerry Williams. To give my name and show my face, to say that I am willing to stand in front of the things I say, which is also why you don't see me up here, just like spouting vile things, because I have respect for myself. So I don't go around through life, calling people names all the time. The people I know and people that know me don't know that's not how I am. And if I were to do that, they would be wondering, why are you acting that way on the internet? So I try to be as legitimate and true to myself as possible. And one way is I never say anything here that I'm not willing to say to anyone or on the street corner and public. I don't put anything on social media that I'm not perfectly willing to stand behind in a court of law. I may say something that I feel bad about because I went over the line and said something, but you know what? I said it. I said it because I meant it. I don't put things out there just to be dramatic, and then try to act anonymous about it. I say what I mean every time. So, Daniel, here I am. Sue me for lying. Go ahead. Except for the fact that that doesn't work. That's not how things work. But I would love it if you think me saying that the globe is real is a lie and that I can be sued for it. Please take me to court and put forth that the globe is a lie, and put it in front of a jury suing me for it. That would be awesome. But it's not going to happen. And I'm not going to sue you for lying, because I don't think you're lying. I think you actually believe it. I just think you're wrong. There's a difference. Let's see. Before I go to some of my pre-selected things, let's see, what do we have here in terms of questions? What event is needs to happen in this world to shut down FE permanently? Well, I don't think there's anything you can do to shut it down permanently. There will always be some, but we know because people have talked about being a flat earther for, generations. It's always, the concept of flat eartherism has always been in our society. There's always been a comment of, you might as well think the earth is flat, because there's always been somebody, a small group of people that have pushed that. So they will diminish, but they will never truly go away. They'll just become marginalized. And within that group, some of them will spin off and they'll go to something else, like someone was saying, like it's this a sovereign citizen or something. Like some of them might decide, oh, I'm going to put more of my energy into this movement. I still have, flat earth thing going on, but I'm going to put my energy into this battle against, I don't know, water fluoridation or something, or uh, chemtrails. That's where they're going to put their energy now, instead of into globe denial, because that's just, there's more, uh, something that they think they can get their teeth into more. But they'll still be there, but they'll just, they'll fade in and they'll find the attention somewhere else. Uh, Bye, Peter. Slightly out of sync. Let's see. I wonder if it's because I'm using this independent mic versus the uh, small mic. Let's see. Paul Story asks, could flat Earth produce the pressure required to make lava? I don't understand any of the mechanisms. So Paul Story asks, could a flat Earth produce the pressure required to make lava magma? I don't have any idea of what mechanisms are in the so-called flat Earth, nor do they, which is why they don't tell you about them. They'll talk about pressure, they'll talk about density, they'll talk about buoyancy, but they don't talk about the actual forces involved and the mechanisms of these forces, because they don't feel it's necessary. And the reason they don't feel it's necessary is because they know they can't go into it. So I don't know. I don't know what the mechanism is for the basic pressure gradient there is in the Earth. If there's a dome, if there's no gravity and there's a dome, they have no mechanism for the difference in pressure from low altitude to high altitude. So they won't talk about it. Yeah. Let's see. Uh, Caroline, do you think that flat earthers really believe everything is Photoshop? You cannot Photoshop moving images, and Photoshop has only been researched. What gives with them? It's a good question. What gives with them? Globe deniers have a tremendous amount of faith in technology, and more so than I do. They do think that we have these high end augmented reality holograms, instantly rendering high definition video with special effects and interaction, on a bandwidth level that is unthought of, uh, that compared to what I do. When I say that we have the science to, did someone just call me or something? Suddenly my mic's going up. Okay. Uh, when I'm sorry, getting a message from someone. When someone says that it could, the technology doesn't exist for something like the International Space Station, that's, but they explain what's happening because of augmented reality, the ability to instantly erase wires on the fly, interactive like force fields or something, and all sorts of weird interaction stuff that can be done instantly, like holodecks from Star Trek. Um, they have much more faith in technology. They'll tell you, when you say Photoshop didn't come around to the 80s, and they'll say, well, they told us Photoshop didn't come around to the 80s. They had the technology so much before that. But you know, that's what they told us. So that's what, it's amazing. Let's see. What do I think about Moonlight making things colder? I don't. I think that's kind of nonsense. Uh, Actually, I'm trying to figure out if I can do it with this next full moon or not. Uh, One thing that bothers me about the way they always do this whole Moonlight making things colder thing is they use the laser, thermometers, and those things are really sensitive to the reflectivity. I can't remember that there's a quotient, there's a factor that those have to do with. It's about, and what that does is it measures the amount of infrared that's being radiated off of something as their temperature, and what the material is made out of uh, affects what what the temperature says, what the temperature reading says. For some reason, they never just put thermometers out, for one, not testing materials and then checking what the temperature of those. They never just put thermometers out. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a set of just thermometers, put them in the shade of the moonlight and in the direct of the moonlight, and see how those things are affected. Get several of them, um, pairs of the same brand with that have the same that are built to the same standards, uh, like actual mercury rising type of thermometers, not just digital ones. I bought a couple digitals and I looked at them, and even the two I had weren't showing the same temperature. They were always off by 3 or 4 degrees between each other. And I'm like, well, that's going to be useless in terms of the experiment. So I want to get some thermometers that'll work that way. Also, I noticed that they always have something blocking this. They'll have something in the moonlight, something here next to it, and then they'll have something blocking the moonlight like this. And almost pretty much every video I've seen, you can hear the wind blowing in the camera. And so you're like, what? And my thought right off the bat is, well, what if one is in the wind and getting blown on more, and one is not in the wind and not getting blown on? So that one's going to radiate heat off faster, and then so that one in the moonlight is going to get cooler because it's getting wind blown on it. So I've never seen them take care of that. So one thing I'm going to do is set up something high in a way that will block the moonlight, but it will not interfere with any air that's moving across both sets. So that's what I'm going to work on. So I think the main thing, the reason why it seems to make it cooler, is because the wavelength of light bouncing off of it registers differently in an optical sensor. That's what I think is going on. So we'll see. Do I believe Daniel Pratt on his prediction that FEs will be linked to terrorism? I don't even know where that comes from, but I would not be surprised if somebody who, a fringe thinker, a person who is a paranoid, delusional person that thinks, that the world has gotten to the point of so many conspiracies and so many things going on that an act of violence is necessary. I don't see it outrageous that person could be a flat earther. So if one happens to be a flat earther and happens to have those fringe things going on and ends up committing an act of terrorism, and he happens to be a flat earther, you can't help but have that connection. Now, whether or not they're going to be targeted as terrorists, I don't know. I do think it is hilarious, though. There's a bit that the Daily Show did, where he was talking. Trevor Noah was talking about the bomber and his van, and then without talking about that bomber's, directly, without saying his name, he just talked about the problem with people who live in their van and what type of people they are. And I just thought it was a hilarious little profile of people who live in vans and can't be trusted. I thought it was hilarious, and I'm sure that some people did not find it very funny. But will they be targeted as to terrorism? No, I don't think so. Could they be linked? Could someone who is a flat earther be linked to terrorism? Yes, they could be, because people who they're out there. There are people who think that I wouldn't be surprised if someone who, like the last guy who just did something, if we did a big interrogation with him, he might think that there were chemtrails being put in out in the air, or that, fluoride in the water is the blame for him being crazy. Not that he's necessarily a flat earther, but if the person is already the type of person who sees these kind of conspiracies and evil machinations going on, sure, flat earth could be in there. I'm saying globe deniers instead of flat earthers. Is there a thinking behind that? Yes. Someone brought it up, and and I think it is true that uh, the flat Earth movement is more about the denial of the globe than it is about the support of a flat Earth concept. You hear it over and over again, and especially like on that Morgal video that was out, and you see it from other people. They'll argue, you say that we have to prove this, you say we have to prove that. No, we don't. All we have to show is that the globe doesn't work. If we can show the one thing that doesn't work on the globe, then it is done. It's done. And so that's what they're about. They're about denying the globe, because they have this kind of dualist kind of look at the world. There's the globe, and then there's flat Earth. Those are our true choices in the world. There's some hollow Earth people, and there's some other stuff in there. There's some simulation people out there, but for the most part, the world is, there's two choices. If we can just get people to say globe is not right, we win, because the only other choice is flat Earth. We don't have to support ourselves. All we have to do is chop them down. It's a lot like a bad politician who doesn't have a good record to run on. So what they do is trash the opponent to make them look really bad, so that they look good. They can't necessarily say good things about their own record. So they just denigrate the opposition or find other people to knock down. And thus they seem to rise, in the result. That's kind of what they're. So globe denier is closer to what they actually are, because they are not flat Earth supporters. They don't put forth evidence to support the flat Earth. They try their best to deny the globe. Okay. And I think I saw this one. What's the difference between actual flat earthers and parodies of flat earthers? Man, that's the whole problem with the internet. You do not know what you're dealing with, whether or not you're dealing with someone who truly believes, a true believer, or someone who is just shining you on. And so sometimes you just have to bail on a conversation. It's like, you know what? I don't even know if you're real. You're so outrageous. I don't know if you're real. I'm going to stop talking to you altogether, just so I'm not just dealing with the troll. So set that there. Okay, dokie. I'm gonna move on to something. Sorry, a cousin of mine just sent me a text, which I do not have time for. And close that. And let me get to my next thing. Okay. Space is a dome, explain media rights. Yeah, I don't understand those space is a dome kind of thing. All right. So now, many of you, I'm going to send out another link for people shortly, because you won't be able to hear sound. So you might as well watch the video. Let's see. Actually, let's see if I can find it. Do I have a link? It's a Patrick Shank video. I want to give him an opportunity, give him a few views. Let's see. I'm going to share my screen one more time. Sorry, I got a lot of windows open here. Trying to get it all together. No, I can't seem to find my too many windows. Any questions while I try to get my act together? Is any more questions? Have you noticed how flat earthers are almost all climate change deniers? Well, that's all about that general science denial. People who talk about climate are professionals. One, they talk about globe. There was always the kind of global warming type of thing. And so the fact that it was called global warming right off the bat is talking about a globe. Globe is false, according to these folks. So they automatically aren't going to like these people. Oftentimes, globe deniers are religiously based globe deniers. Sometimes they're young Earth creationist type globe deniers. So the idea of there being, the ability to date and track things for thousands and thousands and tens and 20 and 100,000 million years of the history of the Earth is an anathema to them. So they have to reject that. The idea that that people actually can damage the Earth is against their concept because they feel that God is protecting the Earth. There's all sorts of reasons why the whole concept of climate change is something that they have to reject. Let's see. Let's talk about my friend Patrick Shank. And yeah, that's the video. So if you can put the link to that video, Anon, if you can put a link to that video in the chat, that would be great for everybody, because I'm going to have it here, and it doesn't have any sound. It just has music, so it's no big deal. But in case they actually want to look at it themselves. So this, so some of you may remember I did my video a couple weeks ago with refraction experiment. Oh, let me see if I can get this ready too. Dun, dun, dun. Let me get my camera ready for this. Video. All right. Okay, get my camera set. I did my little refraction experiment where I showed my phone that was sitting in the little bucket, and the water rose up, and you could see things shift due to refraction. I'm assuming most of you probably have seen that. I'll just assume you have. Okay, so okay, you've linked to that video. So, and that was made on the suggestion of Patrick Shank here. I don't know if Patrick Shank's around, but I told him I was going to be doing this today. And so what he had said was, in his original comment, was that no circumstance in reality can have a person in a denser medium have light come in, and since it's refracted down, the object would go up. You can't show that in real life. If light is refracted down, it would go up. To him, if light is refracted down, then the object goes down, and that's kind of why we see objects disappear over the horizon. That was the whole concept: an object inside a denser medium seeing an object and it refracting up. So I did it, worked perfectly. So first thing off, you can see here, he says that we have no way of knowing the videos in my screen were filmed at the same time. Now, this has been edited several times because he made a bunch of assumptions and I shot him down. And so he had to restructure his claims. So one, he's trying to claim that I wasn't recording with my phone, with my iPad. I had an iPad recording the outside in the small picture-in-picture. So you could see what was going on. So you could see that it was the actual thing. The second I pushed go on my phone to record, they synced up. I had them synced up from the point of the recording started. But he says it's possible that those were fake. Those were two different things. So that's one thing he wants to say. But then he says I could have raised the wood without you knowing about it. And so the idea was that, rising water would make the foam, which is phone sitting on wood, shift and float up, and that would cause things to shift in their way. The problem with that is when you can see in the video that the wood does not move. I had it kind of wedged in the corner of the box so it doesn't move. Had that going on. Secondly, if the wood had been rising with the water rising, then the camera would have been rising the entire time of the video. And so you would have seen the view in the camera shifting throughout the entire video as the water rose. But you didn't. It didn't move because the wood wasn't moving. I made sure of it. I had a heavy piece of wood and I had it wedged in there. I thought of these things. So if wood had been rising, then the video would have been shifting the entire time. It wouldn't just shift at that last second that last instant when the water crossed over the lens. It wouldn't be, oh, all of a sudden we're super buoyant, now we're going to move. That wouldn't have happened. So we didn't see that, so that wasn't what was going on. And the third thing he says is that my phone was upside down, so any movement upward would make it seem to rise. Now, and I try to pin him down on this because I think he was trying to claim that since my phone was upside down, when things were refracted down, they would just look up because my phone was upside down. Down, in the view, the down was up, which makes no sense. Which that would mean that my wood chimes that were in the picture, that were in the view, were hanging upside down. That the things that were on the table that were in view were upside down. That the shingles on my house are upside down. That they're facing the wrong direction. But there's also, and let me go back to sharing my my camera view for a second here. There's the idea that having my phone upside down, let's get like crazy with our stuff here, that having my phone upside down means that the down was up and the up was down. So here's the thing. Here's my phone. This is me, right side up in it. Now, if I turn my phone, you can see my phone understands that it's upside down. So it corrects it digitally. I am not upside down, even though my phone is. You are seeing me right side up because it's a computer in the phone. It's not a regular camera. So the orientation of this phone doesn't change that. So the idea that my phone being upside down affected it is just wrong. So there's that there. And then, then he says, and this is a debunking thing we're doing here. So then he says, of course, I can't prove you faked it. So the logical course of action was to present a more credible experiment that debunks me. And so that's what is linked to. So you can go to that. And then he goes back and forth a couple times. You're a scammer. You called me out. And then I have a video that disproves you. And then you've disappeared. Right. And he explains a little bit more what he means. Atmosphere bending down means that objects will look lower down. That's his whole thing. And he backed it up with this experiment that he did. That's a big argument that he's making. Let's see if I have one more here. Yes, and so I told him I'd be talking about it today. And of course, he says that I'm going to start slandering him. If I try to scam my audience, I'll pick up on it. And if I don't use the scientific method, it won't be a valid argument. That's very important because he says if you don't use the scientific method, it's not a valid argument. The problem is he didn't use the scientific method for his experiment. So let's look at his experiment. I'm just going to set this thing going here. And I'll skip through a little bit because he's going to debunk us. This is what we show that, and this is true. This is how it works. Light comes in, it's refracted downward. But he's saying it's not that it looks like it's higher up. It should look like it's lower. I'm going to skip through because these are just slides. This is where we disagree. That this is how it looks. But he says anyone with a pair of glasses can debunk globehead claims. And he talks about lens here, but this doesn't really matter. And then he's got this whole thing with the object, light just for some reason just coming over the top of the glasses for some reason. And then we have the eye. And then his proof is using a pair of glasses. He takes a pair of glasses. Let me go back here. And he brings up here. And you can see it's lower. It's lower. That's proof that when light is refracted down, it appears lower because you can see right there, it's lower according to him. And that's his proof. Now, I don't know if he'll watch this eventually. So I want people to think about what he just showed here. Okay, let me just stop right here. Yeah. Let's just think about what he just showed here. And why. That's so you can see right there. It's lower. Now, let's think about why this is wrong and why it's not a valid why it's not a valid refutation of my experiment. Remember what the whole idea was, that if you're in a denser medium and light is refracted downward, you'll see it higher. So can anybody right off the bat see the difference between his experiment and mine? My experiment, which was according to what he asked for, and his. Just real quick poll there, see what people say. Bum, bum, bum. Let's see. I'm gonna. Yeah, slow mode can be annoying. Maybe I'll cut down the time on slow mode for you guys. So instead of being 60 seconds, like the default. Let's see. Let's go to info. Let's see advanced. I'm gonna change slow mode to every. All right. See how that works. All right, I've changed the setting on slow mode. Anybody who's having issues with the speed of the chat room, maybe try refreshing and see if that helps you go a little bit faster. Depends on how lens is shaped. Good. He's looking at it from the wrong end. Good. It's a lens. Bum, bum, bum. Let's see. Oh, I'm sure. Let's see. Bum, bum, bum. All right. Okay, so let's look at the first the difference between here. So I just set together a slide here that has just some stuff on it that I'll make use of. So I'm gonna quickly just set up what my demo was, where we had this was the demo I did. The whole idea was that if you're in a denser medium and light refracts down, things should, will look lower to him. And I'm saying it looks higher. So this was my setup. You have an object here, you have the view in a denser medium, and the light comes in, and that's how we see. Now, the first thing wrong with his demonstration is that it's set up completely different than what he claimed. His claim, what he's doing, is he has an object on the outside of a denser medium going into a denser medium, and the observer also on the outside of a denser medium. This is how he has it set up. Here. I had it set up here, which is what he asked for. He has it set up this way. It's a totally different experiment. Right off the bat. Just right off the bat, it's a totally different thing. The concept was of the observer being within a denser medium. When you're wearing glasses, you are not in a denser medium. Light is traveling through it and coming out of it. Now, if it was a situation like this, it wouldn't be an issue. There would be nothing going on. It's coming in straight here. There's no particular angle of impedance here, any angle of attack. It may or may not, it wouldn't even refract. But let's say there was. Let's say it was like this. Even in a situation like this, there wouldn't be much difference. You come in and you refract down a little bit, but then you get here and you refract back up again, and just pretty much a parallel. It'll be shifted lower, but it would still be, it would shift, but then it would unshift. That would be the issue. Okay, there's definitely something more dense about the experiment. Nice, and but that's not the situation he was showing. Even what I have here is not the situation he was showing. He had a lens. He had a lens, and the way lenses work is like this, where you have an object, here light comes in, and it's not just that it's a denser medium, it's also has a curved edge, and these curved edges are like, the whole point is you have to hit it at an angle. You have to hit it at an angle for it to refract. If you just go straight in, it's just going to go straight in. That's just the way it goes. So this guarantees that it hits an approach angle. There's less approach angle here than there is here. It kind of curves more. If it hits straight on here, there's no distortion at all. But if it comes in through here, there's more of it. So there's that. There's the refraction that happens when it comes in and hits this top surface at whatever angle it's at. But then not only that, usually with glasses, the inner edge is even more curved. It's not just a straight, parallel thing. There's more curvature. And this is where your prescription comes in. Generally, they keep this at a certain level. And then your prescription comes in on how much they give you a curve here. And the reason that's important is because as the light is refracted in here, the angle it comes up against through this medium, the angle it comes up against the dense medium, the threshold here, decides how much it's going to refract coming back out. So what happens is it comes in at a kind of, high angle, not doing much refraction, but then it hits here and it hits it at an extreme angle and bends. And in this case, it would bend up, it bends up a little bit. And thus it looks, it looks like it's lower. It's the fact that it's going in at one angle and out at a wholly different angle before it hits you that changes that shift. And not only that, there's a difference between the refraction at the top of the glasses compared to refraction at the bottom of the glasses. And you'll notice, I just happened to notice this as I was flying by. You'll notice in his video, let me go back to it here. Whoops. Let me go back to it here. He shows a lot of going back and forth at the top. But if I can time it here, when he first comes in, pause, up. When he comes in at the bottom of the glasses, it refracts up. And it refracts, and so everything looks like it shifts up because it's coming in at the bottom of the glasses. He just breezes by that and comes down here at the top of the glasses where it seems to refract down. And that's because there's two different levels of curvature. There's two different curvatures going on the glasses. You have the top edge curvature, which causes it to go, causes it to bend up and make it look like it goes down. And then you have the bottom, which makes it bend down, makes it seem like it's going up. And that's how you change the focal length to make it hit your eye the way it wants to. So this is why his was a wholly false debunk of what I did because the situation was completely different. And then also it shows that he doesn't understand how lenses work in glasses. And he just breezed by the fact that at the bottom of the glasses, it does just the opposite of what happens at the top of the glasses. He probably didn't even notice it. He probably didn't even catch that was happening. That's why in his little thing here, he just shows it at the top of the glasses. It's just a little thing at the top of the glasses. Because he probably didn't even notice, or if he did, he just quickly ignored it. So that is why his concept of refraction was wholly wrong. His argument against what I had done was wrong on every point. The wood was not floating. Was wrong on every point. The wood was not floating. The camera did not move. Turning the camera upside down does not change the way up and down look in it. Then in his experiment, he was not within the dense medium. He was on the outside of it. So light was going into a dense medium and out of a dense medium. And it was a lens of glasses which has curved surfaces on different levels on both edges, inside and outside edges. So you were getting a different level of refraction. And he ignored the fact that at the bottom of the glasses, made things look like it went up, and at the top of the glasses, it made it look down. So on every possible facet, he was wrong. And he didn't follow the scientific method in any way. And I did all of this without doing any character attacks, what he claimed that I was going to do. I just dealt with the facts of what was going on. So Make another video if you want, Patrick, but we're done on this. You've already shown that you don't understand what's going on, that you're wrong, and we all know it. All righty then. Let's see what else is going on in the chat, because I know you guys have been active. Any new laser? Can I revisit the laser over the ice tray with several more ice trays in line to see? Yeah, I don't know. Be laser over the ice tray. Got to figure it out. But it would be nice to see if it's possible to show the gain in refraction over time. Oh, excuse me, over distance. So not just the one shift, but the accumulated shift. That would be great. So I'll see, but it's just one of those things. You have to have fun, have time, and resources, and think it through. So it would be great. Oops. All right, cool. Let me see what else. No. That was not nice. Declan, that was not a nice thing to say. Am I sharing my screen? Hope not. You've seen that text from my mom if I was. Let's see. Yes, it was not a character attack. I don't. Can I debunk Oakley video on objects disappearing from the bottom up? I don't know what the video is. Maybe send me that later. Oh, I didn't know Patrick Shank was claiming that massive magnetic field is pushing the oceans down. Good for him. Yeah, prove it. Good, Darkula. Hey guys, what did you miss? You missed about an hour and 15 minutes. I think I might have this set to stop at in 45 minutes. So what I'm going to do, I scheduled it because I don't want to stay here all day. So just 2 hours. What I'll do is probably about a quarter till, so about a half hour from now, I'm going to shut this down, leave the room open, and for the last 10 or 15 minutes, and let you guys continue. Hold on 1 second. I need to reply to my mother. All right. Parents. Okay, let's see what else is coming through. Yeah, so I got that one. Longer ongoing questions on Discord. Yeah, we can go over those eventually. Okay. Let's see. Oh, yeah, just real quick. This is not for anything. Now, I have this thing on my website for digital thank yous. Hold on a second. Mom here. Okay. Parents. Did we get another super chat? So let me go to all chats, not just top chat. Okay, excellent. Oh, let's get another question. All right. Let's see. Oh yeah, I was talking about thank yous, digital thank yous, and one thing that I tell people is like, let me know what your social media is. If you purchase a digital thank you, which basically just a donation, it's like $5. Some people, purchase multiple digital thank yous just as a way if you want to donate $10, you just buy 2 digital thank yous. And one reason I'm doing this is this is considered income. It's being, it's not just you sending me money and me just getting it. I actually have to report all this income, and it has to go toward taxes and all that kind of thing. So that's why I have it as a product that you're buying from me, a digital thank you. And so it counts as income that I have to actually report. It's not just me just getting money and walking off with it. But a number of people have purchased digital thank yous. And so I just want to say, hey, now none of them gave me their specific social media, and they didn't say whether or not they wanted their names. I could mention their names, so I will just say to Peter, thank you very much for your purchase of digital. Thank you. There's Ben, Mila, Daniel, and Eric. They all purchased digital thank yous, and I want to say thank you to them. If you want to hit me up with your social media, I can use your email to try to hunt it down. But if you hit me up with your social media, I'd like to follow you. Subscribe if you have a YouTube channel, anything like that. Hugo Perez, Jason. Hugo Perez is not his full name. That's the first and middle name. Jason, Douglas, Greg, thank you very much for your purchases of digital thank yous. I appreciate it greatly. Howarth, Juan Carlos, and Jermaine, you all purchased digital thank yous, and I appreciate that greatly. Let's see, am I missing any other questions? I have a few more digital thank yous out there, but I want to get to you guys. Just checking with my mods. Let's see. I don't understand why I can see more underside underwater than with clear air. My mind thinks that Ben would have to be away from the surface. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what you mean there. Yeah, so I can't. I have to think on it. Yeah, because I have too many things going, so I'm not exactly sure what you're saying there, Robin. But maybe hit me up on this on the Discord, or it's on a separate thread, and I'll see if I can address it. Cheshire Cat, thank you very much for your donation. It is going to go to the Oakland Youth Chorus, a group that I've been associated with for 30 years or so. Yeah, I think it'll be 30 years now. And they're good people, and my son's being helped by it. I think music education is incredibly important. Actually, the Oakland Youth Chorus, their slogan used to be the OYC for me. It was Oakland Youth Chorus for Music Education. And that's where that logo that I have that I made for them comes from. But I think music education is incredibly important, and it helps the formation, especially with kids. It helps with brain formation. Arts education helps with it supplements science and math incredibly. Kids who learn how to read music and play music, it helps map their brains and making them more capable of kind of the mathematical functions that are needed in science. It helps out greatly. It's all part of making a well-rounded human being. As much as I am a science proponent, I am equally an arts proponent. I think they go hand in hand when it comes to being able to think creatively, investigate, and having young, healthy human brains. So thank you for donating to the Oakland Youth Chorus when you donate to my super chat. Why do I think that D. Marble tried to redefine the definition of eclipse as something seen from off Earth? I don't think he tried to redefine eclipse that way. I think he did not understand what an eclipse was. I think I tried to show him in my video that people just think kind of top-down, superficial model. So they see things in line, and they see the simplest, they have a very simplistic idea of what things are, like, oh, sun, moon, earth, eclipse, not necessarily understanding that things have to be really lined up on on all three axes. So that's what I think was going on there, and he didn't think it through. That's what happens. He saw something as like, yes, that fits my narrative. Let me go with it. And that's happened so many times with all of them. They take something and they run with it, and all you have to do is say, if you went one step further, you would have figured that out. But they're not willing to do that. They want to get to the quick fix. They want to get to the conclusion without doing the work, and so they see what fits, and so they go with it. And it's something I think I mentioned in my last one, and I don't know if I did it when we were online or offline, but when you're doing an experiment or you're thinking about something and you get that kind of feeling of happiness or joy because something is fitting within what you want, that is when you're supposed to doubt. that is when that's when that voice should say, hold on, why am I happy about this? If you're happy about it, that means there's a good chance that it's just fitting with what you want to be true. And so that's when you should rethink. So whenever I am doing something, I try. Uh, Whenever I'm doing something and the conclusion is coming up, and I get that feeling of, yeah, all right, this is working out. I have to stop and say, check the numbers again. Ask those questions that you know other people are going to ask, because the fact that you're happy with the result says there's a good chance there's going to be your own bias involved. And what happens with globe deniers so many times is that they think about something, they get a little bit of information, it resonates with what they want to be true. They're like, yes, got them. And they just go with it instead of going, okay, but what does that really mean? How is that really defined? They don't take that extra step because they want to just go with that gut. It reaffirms what I believe thing. And I think that's dangerous when it comes to scientific thinking. It's unscientific. It's personal bias. So I think that's what happens. Man, sorry, I get wordy on things like that sometimes. Let's see. Casey Shovel is feasible. Is it feasible to use a line stretched across a lake to physically the hard part about doing something like that is having a line stretched across a lake is that I don't know if you've ever like tried to like hold a wire and just and walk separately and try to keep that thing taut. The further apart you get, the more that thing wants to sag, and thus the more tension you have to put on that thing to straighten it out. And so I can't see getting very far without that line sagging down. You get to the point where you're going to have to put so much torque and so much tension into it that you won't have a physical mechanism that can do it to straighten it out. That's the problem. That's why lasers are good to a certain degree, but they also have a problem with refracting and also dispersing outward. So you have to collimate that as much as possible to get it as tight as possible. And then you have to, it's just work. I think the best experiment there would be is if you could get like a microwave laser, something that's on a wavelength that does not refract. And of course, you can't see that optically. You have to use sensors for that. But if it does not refract, then you'd be able to track that. And if you can keep it tight because of it, less dispersion, you'll be able to you'd be able to detect whether or not it's being blocked by the surface of the water. So something like that. So that's the thing about a stretched line across the water. Okay, so before we get any other questions, I do want to talk briefly about the response I got from Antonio about my video, because it's another example of how people are willing to kind of skew their view and come up with weird arguments just to fit. Let me close that. What they want to be true. So this is a little bit of reading, folks. So prepare. So we all know I did that video, my last video on Antonio Subrat's in his attempt to redefine history. But this is the criticism he gave of my showing that he was wrong. I'll read at least the first part before he just gets into slanderous attacks down here. This is what GreaterSapien says in this very video with my comments in brackets on what he said. Okay. GreaterSapien said, the astronauts are filming the Earth. He agrees. Houston asked them for a description of what they can see. He agrees with me there. The camera view shifts and the Earth goes out of view and the astronauts describe the Earth. Yes, this is where the camera is moved away so they can see. NASA says they have lost the view of the Earth. No. His criticism is the astronauts are part of NASA. So it's not NASA saying that, it's Houston. So he wants to parse the fact that I said NASA instead of Houston as me being wrong. This is the level of argument they have to go to in order to try to keep some type of high road. So no, I was wrong. The astronauts are part of NASA, so it's not NASA saying that. It was Houston saying that. Okay. And Armstrong says the line, telling Houston that they have a better view than we do because the camera is keeping us from getting where we can see. No, this does not happen. Now, we know what happens, but this is why he says it. At no point where the camera is pointed away from the Earth does Armstrong say that Houston has a better view than they do. That comes later when Houston can see the Earth. Houston could not see the Earth when the astronauts were looking directly because the camera was not in their way when they were describing the Earth, but it had instead panned away while they looked directly. And it's when they put back to Earth that Armstrong says the line, not when Houston says they cannot see the Earth. Got it? Yes. That in no way makes me, wrong. He said, the point, what he's saying is that the timing of the saying wasn't when the camera was away, so somehow I'm wrong. But no, that reaffirms that I'm right. When the camera is back in front of the window and the astronaut says that you have a better view than we do, he's talking about when the camera is in front of the window. You admit, Antonio, that they had to move the camera away from the window in order to see. That means that when the camera was in front of the window, it was in the way and they couldn't see. And that's why they did it. I know I'm speaking to you like I'm speaking as if you were a child, but I'm really trying to spell this out. So when you try to argue that Armstrong says that the Houston has a better view than them when the camera is in front of the window, is somehow making me wrong. What you're doing is reaffirming exactly what I said. When the camera, at no point, stupid sensitive mouse, at no point where the camera is pointed away from Earth does Armstrong say Houston has a better view than they do. That's correct, because when they move the camera, they have a better view than Houston. But now, when the camera is at the window, the thing you guys argue about so much, that's when Armstrong says that Houston has a better view. That's what they're saying. In no way are you refuting what I said. You're just trying to find little holes to find criticism. You just want to be able to criticize so you can say you somehow had victory. But the ability to criticize doesn't make you right. The fact that I said NASA instead of Houston doesn't make you right. The fact that you got the impression I was saying something other than what I was saying doesn't make you right. All you've done is reaffirm what I've said. Then you go down here and you say that, I'm a narcissist and blah, 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 blah. And you argue about the camera possibly zooming. Doesn't matter. They were moving. They can move and zoom at the same time, or alternate moving and zooming. That doesn't matter. But your criticism is just an attempt of find something to say when you know that I'm right. So that's kind of a pathetic effort there. So really too bad. It's indicative. That's what I do. And then I forgot to paste it here. He makes another comment about how I lied and deleted his comments, but I already showed that he has no evidence of that. Apparently, because I'm just a brilliantly manipulative person and somehow have erased all knowledge of that, as opposed to him deleting it. And that his accusations of me deleting hundreds of comments and having hundreds of standalones was just false, because I showed that was due to what was going on during Google Plus. So he's done there. Let's see. Do I ever tackle Mandela effect topics No, I haven't tackled any yet because I find Mandela effect topics annoying. The fact that people don't remember stuff correctly is just the way things are in society. It's not it's not, somehow some mystical thing. I mean, I guess I could talk about how I don't think it's some mystical thing. I think it's just, collective, misunderstanding of things. Things that, are popular get spread, and if that thing that is popular is wrong, it gets spread and people believe it. For example, uh, what was it? Luke, I am your father. People say, no, I was sure it said it. Well, no, the fact is that people have just said that for a long time, and that's why we say it. But I knew for a fact that that's not what was said because I'm a Star Wars nerd. So I knew for a fact that's not what was said. People say, well, at some point, Sex in the City became Sex and the City when everyone knows it was Sex in the City, and somehow mystically to things have been rewritten. It's like, no, I remember at the time thinking it was a really clumsy name to call it Sex and the City because you naturally want to say Sex in the City. I remember when the show first came out and I was like, oh, there's this show called, Sex and the City. Oh no, it's Sex and the City. That's weird. That's that's hard. That's kind of clumsy. Sex and the City. Sex and the City. That's I remember at the time. So no, this idea that because we through bad memory and easily spread disinformation, uh, don't remember things that as they were, uh, is not indicative that there's some type of glitch in the matrix and things have retrained. I think someone said maybe when they fired up the Large Hadron Collider, maybe the universe changed and that's why things have. Stop, stop. Just get better. Just pay attention. We got make sure it's not work. Okay. What do I have planned coming? I'm gonna try to do regular chats. This is from it's from from Anne. What do I have planned upcoming? I'm gonna try to do regular chats at least one a week. I kind of like this two thing, but I have to do. I have a potential martial arts belt test coming up, so I have to kind of focus on my training for the next month. But I'll try to do at least one a week. These Sundays seem to work out pretty good. So I'll probably try to do these at least once a week. And let's see, more demos for science. I do have some more demos for science. I have a whole series, a whole list of things of a new series that I'm calling just I call it Comment Thread Science, and it's taking positions that I've heard argued and kind of boiling them down into like a kind of a kids science explanation, just like the basics of these things. Like, for example, people say, I was originally going to do the refraction as one. I just didn't have time to do it. Like when people say rockets can't work in space, just like a brief, like 5 minutes at most, explanation of how, to get to the point to show that it's not necessary to have a medium to push off of, like some globe deniers believe. I have partly written a script on the thermosphere and how heat transfer works when it comes to high altitude travel, and how yes, it may be a certain temperature, but it doesn't mean that it's beyond the melting point of certain things. So yeah, I have a series of short science only videos. They're kind of springboarding off of the arguments that globe deniers use, but it's not specifically for that. It's just explaining scientific principles. So that is upcoming. The martial arts I study is Indonesian kung fu called silat. Uh, Most people don't know what it is. A very militaristic style of it is shown in the movies The Raid, Redemption, or and The Raid 2. Those are silat films. So it's that's like military level kind of assassin, super hard style, which I learned, but I also learned kind of long form. I Windows open, so there's a couple flies that have come in here. Sorry, distracted. So yeah, so Sealot is what I practice, and a couple weapon forms and stick forms are in there as well. Mhm, mhm. Have I ever tried Aikido? I have never tried it myself. I have sparred with Aikido people. So we haven't had a chance to do it this month, but usually once or twice a month, the studio that I'm with, Soja, uh, Soja Martial Arts in Berkeley, we host uh, what we call a fight lab, and it's an open to people we know, martial arts professionals, fighters, people who we trust that know how to play well, to come from, and bring whatever form they have. And, they can also just show some of their long forms if they want to show like how their weapon stuff works, whatever. But also to, pair up with people who are of different backgrounds and different teachings, different body types, and just work out their martial arts, in a safe, format. So we decide to what level of contact you want to have. Some people, don't really want much contact. Other people like, yeah, let's do this. Let's go like 50%. Let's go kind of hard. And then you just work it out. You just, a person who's, Thai boxing, and someone who's silat, and someone who does taekwondo, and someone who does grappling, so jujitsu stuff. And you just say, hey, how about you and me? Like, do 5 minutes. Like, cool. And then you get together and you say, what do you want to do? What happens if one of us goes to the ground? Do you want to continue, or do you want to get back up? What do you want to do? And you say, so no matter if you get me to the ground, good. My job is to get you, get back up, things like that. You just kind of make an arrangement. Usually have somebody standing by for safety, because we don't have a ring. We have concrete walls and it's concrete floor and things like that. And then you just say, okay, ready, go. And you can be with gloves, or you can be bare. I tend to do bare hand stuff, but you can have gloves or not. And you can have just like the MMA gloves, or you can have full on boxing gloves. And then you just go at it. So one of the people that I know that come on a regular basis is an Aikido person, and he's come by uh, mainly to see how Aikido works against people who aren't doing Aikido but fully intend to hit you. and and he's fairly good at Aikido, but he also found that it's really not that effective uh, when a person is just intent on hitting you and not like giving you their wrist, and not giving you the momentum that you want to have. Uh, and since he don't Aikido doesn't have strikes and things like that, offensively it's very difficult. So yeah, I was sparring with him for a while. Nice guy, and I had gloves on, and he did not, because he's not going to be striking back. And my goal was just to hit him like a boxer. I was just going that way, and his goal was to throw me, wrist lock me, or whatever. And it just didn't work. He just got hit a lot, uh, because it's difficult when someone is not another Aikido person doing an Aikido punch, like a dummy punch, and just putting it out there and making sure that they give you the proper momentum, so then you can grab a wrist and keep them going. So I'm not interested in Aikido as an art myself, though I do like some of the wrist locks, and I've talked to people who do it, and I've learned a couple of things from them. But as a practice, it's not practical enough. I try to take whatever I do and then see how I can apply it to real things. You know, even the long forms I have with Silat, there are elements that I think they're kind of useless when it comes to actual fighting, but they're great for fitness and kind of grace and balance and things like that. And if you can increase your grace and balance, then the effectiveness of your fighting gets better. Let's see. I've only known of one person who has given up and converted to the globe, so I don't have a lot of thoughts on that. Okay, before I go, I have a few more thank yous here. Let's see, where did I leave off on? I think I said Jermaine. I mentioned who purchased a digital thank you, and I was, hey, what's up to Jermaine? Mr. LaFrance, your first name is a little too generic, and you would know who I was talking about if I just said your first name. Mr. Sorensen, thank you very much for your digital. Thank you. Hit me up with your social media and I will follow if I'm not already doing it. Ross, thank you very much for your purchase of a digital. Thank you. I think you might have done more than one. Mr. Walker, Mr. Jensen, and Mr. Lundquist. Mr. Lundquist, I actually met when I dropped off his t-shirt. He lives near the next city over, and I went by to hand deliver a t-shirt. So I got to speak with Mr. Lundquist for a few minutes. It was cool. It was kind of nice to see a look on his face when I popped up on his front door. So thank you very much for your purchases of your digital thank yous. Those of you who have made donations to the super chat throughout this, I thank you very much. All of them are going to the Oakland Youth Chorus, which I've been associated with for a long time. And they're good people. They do good stuff and bringing arts and music education to young people throughout the city of Oakland, with a lot of scholarships for those who can't pay for their memberships. And it's great for future scientists to have that type of background. So thank you for your support. Let me get back to my window, see if there's anything I'm missing here. What's up, Jesse? You just woke up. I've been on for hours, man. Come on. You just woke up. That's funny. Wait a minute. Didn't you already donate, Cheshire? Thank you very much. I think that's your second donation today. So cool. Let's see. So I'm gonna be signing off here. I've said all the things that yeah, I just said thanks to Cheshire Cat. Thanks for hitting me up there. And I'm going to be signing off here. I want to leave this. I have it scheduled to shut off at in about 12 minutes. So I want to give this room to you guys to do your thing for a bit. But okay, I think this is a good palate cleanser from the last one we had. By the way, what's his name? Jack is still hitting me up on Discord and on the comment threads, trying to have a normal conversation, and as if Friday didn't happen. And some reason he thinks that we can go back to having a normal conversation after that fiasco of rudeness that he gave. Yeah, so sorry, Jack, you're not going to get comments from me anymore. We're done. Arthur Romer says you only donate to the poor. Okay, good for you. But the thing is, with the Oakland Youth Chorus, what they do is they give scholarships to people who cannot afford to do after school educational programs. So that's in your way. You would be donating to the poor. This live chat is going 100% to the Oakland Youth Chorus. So if that's what you only donate to the poor, I'm glad you do. And just so you know, it's not going to me. It would be going to someone who actually needs it. It was entertaining rudeness, but still, he's shown himself that he's not capable of being civil and having a civil conversation. So the fact that he's trying to back up and act like he wants to have a civil conversation, yeah, it's he's shown himself to not be worthy of my attention, and we're done. And speaking of being done, I wanted just a real quick shout out to anybody else that's in the room, and then I'm going to sign off and leave this room open for a few more minutes. What I've been told is as long as you're commenting, you stay in the room. But the second like you stop or you go away and you try to come back, you try to get into the room, it will go away. So as long as you're in there, you'll be fine. Yes, you're right, Arthur. Poor people do need it too, and that's why I've shifted my super chat to go to the Oakland Youth Chorus, because I know where they put their money. Who are we waiting for? With whom you talked to? No, I'm not waiting for anybody. I'm signing off now. So, folks, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your donations, and thank you very much for your moderation. Mandelbrot, welcome to the team. Thank you for your assistance and your control of the room. It seems like the room was pretty calm today. It's nice to see. I see there's some questions that popped in on my Discord. I will check them and see if I can add them to a later video or another live stream. So cool. Thank you very much. Stay in the room. I'm going to be signing off, and I will let you know in the next couple of days. Most likely it'll be a weekly thing on Sundays like we're doing now. Feel free to say in the chat or let Ann know or Mandelbrot. What a good time is best for you? Usually mornings before noon Pacific are best for me. I can get a couple hours in without disrupting my life. So let me know what times are good for you, and we'll see if we can work that out. And again, drop me the line of any live streams that you know of that might be good for me to pay a visit and say hey to those folks. Thank you very much. Have a good Sunday. I'm going to be signing off. Stay in the room for a few more minutes. Remember, everybody, think critically.